Radiant team ban.
Alright folks, welcome back to the RedBull ECL 2013 Group C group stage play. This will be RisingStars against CCKD. Earlier today we did see Orange playing against ERH. They did polish them off pretty quickly, 2-0. But here we might get a little bit of a closer game, or, I don't know, maybe we won't. We'll have to see. At any rate, this is Beyond the Summit 2 coverage of this ongoing tournament. 4 group stages, groups A, B, C, and D. We're playing through day 3 of Group C play. 2 teams from each group will advance to the LAN finals July 10th through 14th. Those will be covered from the Beyond the Summit studios in California. Here from not Beyond the Summit studios in not California, your casters today, Vikramon, that's me, and Basecap, my co-caster. How you doing, man?
Yeah, doing pretty well. We had a fairly long break in between games, but I took that as an opportunity to just hang out, and now my phone is apparently ringing, so I'll probably have to deal with that.
Get your phone calls. Alright, go ahead and deal with that. I'll go ahead and introduce this game. So, CCKD and RStars both doing pretty well in this group so far. In fact, if there's an opportunity for an upset in a group that Orange and RStars are more likely than not to advance, it could happen here. CCKD, of course, they played NA yesterday and absolutely, utterly obliterated them. NA feeling a little bit hapless, but here they're up against much stiffer opposition, of course. RisingStars, that did performed ably in the Eastern qualifiers for the International, placing, I believe, 4th behind LGD, Rattlesnake, and VG in that order. And they've struggled a little bit, I feel, as a team to really get a groove that they're happy with, especially considering a team as prominent as RisingStars. Their competition that they have to stack up against is just so incredibly high level. So in that sense, maybe they haven't impressed some people as much, but nonetheless a team that's very strong, able to sort of take games, and it's going to be an uphill battle for CCKD, unquestionably. They're a team that's still really seeking to prove themselves, seeking to show that they can stand with some of the strongest teams in China in this group, and basically any path to get to the LAN finals has to go through a win here for CCKD, and so we'll see what they have in store for us. You good to go, Basecap?
Yep, I'm back. I didn't actually have to pick up the phone, I just had to mute my microphone while it was ringing.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough.
It was someone else in the house. But anyway, so apologies for that, guys. Hopefully that wasn't...
It was someone else's phone, or it was someone in your house calling you?
No, it's a VoIP phone, and
okay.
I've got the router in my room, so the base station for the phone has to be here, and yeah, I didn't take it off the hook, which was my bad. Normally I remember, but this time around, yeah.
Oh, it's fine. I left the overlay on for 5 minutes yesterday.
Shh, no one can know.
Hashtag production value.
Anyway, so yeah, talking about what you were... Well, on that note about talking about, getting through the finals and, what you need to do to try and win through, it's a bit of an interesting, well, not really too interesting so far as the group setup is concerned, but if CCKD do want to advance, they obviously have to fight their way through RisingStars pretty much, assuming that they won't win against Orange. Obviously, we haven't really seen them tested too much just yet, so maybe we'll have a better impression after the end of today's matches. But yeah, obviously, if you want a good chance, you have to beat the 2 favorites, which are RisingStars and Orange. So I'm really looking forward to this game, frankly.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm excited to see what CCKD pull out. They gave us some pretty exciting games so far, and I like these picks from RisingStars as well. I mean, I love watching Sand King, so I'm really happy that in addition to his sort of perennial... the soft spot that Southeast Asian teams have had for him, it feels like a lot more teams are trying him out now with the new Sandstorm functionality that lets him be just a little more evasive, a little more survivable, and sets up his stuns better, which is really all he needs.
Yeah, I feel like RisingStars, and I brought this up in the earlier matches today, that they've kind of walked into a bit of a melee trap already, I think. With triple melee heroes as your first 3 picks, there's a lot of ways to punish melee. I mean, even, Enigma hasn't been popular for a very long time, and, I feel rightfully so, but you always have to keep in mind that if you go too melee heavy, there are always going to be heroes available that just punish you completely in teamfights, and even someone like Darkseer, I feel like, does an amazing job at, punishing clustered up lineups, and even Alchemist is going to have trouble because cogs are going to be as much of a nuisance for him as they are going to be for the enemy team. So
That's true.
we'll see how that works out for Rising Stars.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Sand King can burrow into the cogs, but Alchemist, you're totally right, is going to have a lot of trouble actually approaching that. Even if they should catch somebody out with cogs, they don't. I mean, Illuminate does synchronize nicely with the cogs. You have no way of avoiding that full charge Illuminate. So I like this Keeper of the Light edition. But you're right that this is definitely a lineup that, despite being composed of a bunch of very strong heroes, doesn't quite bring the synergistic elements yet. Meanwhile, CCKD basically have just a person for each lane here. Most likely we are going to see Dragon Knight mid. Seems like that's a trend that is going to continue even with the new bottle changes. And then Shadow Demon support Darkseer on the off lane. And I like this lineup too. I think it's a good overall setup. Darkseer quite is anti-carry capability against Alchemist is quite good, so...
Yeah, and I mean, even Alchemist often doesn't love buying a BKB, but
Sure.
this game it's kind of a must buy, I think. So
I
that
agree.
changes his overall build progression a little bit. And then again, even if he does get the BKB to avoid, a wall illusion, avoid being stunned, then there is still the Shadow Demon to contest with. So
It's true, there's definitely the Purge, but, I mean, BKB is still pretty good against even SD, just to not get disrupted, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I do expect Alchemist to build to... Xiao2G will probably build a BKB sooner or later. The nice thing, of course, Alchemist gets gold so quickly that 3,900 is just like... it's not chump change, but it's not it's not like it takes you that far out of whack.
yeah, you give him 5 minutes by himself, and it's a BKB. So yeah, and yeah, the nice thing about the Alch is that just exactly how quickly he does get 6 slotted. And I mean, Alchemist, I think almost. I mean, I'd have to have a look at stats and whatnot to actually check, but I feel like most of the time he's coming online significantly faster than DK is kind of getting level 16. And while DK does have an impact, and even more so now that he's got his effectively that he has a rank 2 ult, but yeah, if Alchemist can take advantage of that window before DK is level 16 and kiting him around too much, then I think Rising Star is in a pretty good spot. But CCKD, they've got the inevitability, I kind of want to say right now, between the DK and the Chaos Knight for the late game. I don't know if we're really going to be seeing anything hold that thought. We've got something a little bit late game oriented from Rising Stars to wrap up the lineup. So.
Right, and an OD, and this is a hero that's really rising to prominence as a result of the fact that if you want to win the mid lane, you just take an OD, and there's very, very few heroes that he loses to. And I was wondering if I could get a little color from you also on this. So the casual Chaos Knight, IO banned, you just take that CK for your tri-lane. Do you think that'll be effective in this game against this Alchemist composition?
Well, okay, so we get the other CK partner, where we get the Ancient Apparition.
Yes. So yeah.
AA is not really a thing in the competitive scene that much. He is a very good Chaos Knight partner, because you can, and I guess we haven't seen this for a really long time, so I guess really quickly running over it. For the benefit of anyone who hasn't seen it in a while, the idea is basically just that Reality Rift is guaranteed cold feet. So that's pretty much the idea. He's got so much lockdown that you should really be able to get that cold feet off every single time. And the other thing worth noting about AA before I hand it back is that his ultimate is fantastic against Alchemist because it disables all of that ultimate regen.
That's
so
fantastic.
it makes him a lot squishier. So
And
yeah, I like the pickup here from CCKD.
Yeah, I mean, if the laning works out, I think this could be incredibly strong. AA, of course, also not bad against OD, especially the mechanism rushing OD we've seen lately to try to bolster his tankiness. You can't use your mechanism heal if you get stabbed in the face by that Ice Blast, so this could definitely work out. So, let's go ahead and introduce the teams, although I just remembered CCKD are a giant pain to introduce because our Mandarin is bad, and all I can see is that 3 of their names start with Xiao. So, we've got Xiao, I'm not sure what the second character is, on Ancient Apparition, and then we have a Chaos Knight, Xiao LV on the Dragon Knight, 333 on the Darkseer, CYS on the Shadow Demon. As far as lanes go, it does look like possibly dual bot Dragon Knight Shadow Demon, then a dual mid AA CK to try to oppress the Outworld Devourer if they can, and a solo off lane Darkseer.
Yep, and over on the side of Rising Stars, we've got 1, 2, 3 on the Clockwork heading towards the off lane, heading towards mid. It's going to be Air on the Outworld Devourer, and then up on top we've got Super on the Keeper of the Light, XDD on the Sand King, and last but certainly not least, Xiao2G is going to be on the Alchemist. I don't know how helpful it is, but I actually tried to look into the names of the CCKD players a little bit more, so The guy on Ancient Apparition, his name roughly translates, and I'm sure chat will probably get me for this one, but it's kind of like Little Red, and then the guy on CK is like Little Black. So I guess there's like the first character is Xiao,
Yeah, so
but
Xiao is like
this is
little or like cute
Yeah, little.
or mini.
yeah.
So A is what and CK is what?
Red and Chaos Knight is black.
Oh, that's kind of cute. All right. Well, I'll call AA red and Chaos Knight black then. And or
we
just
might
by
have a
their
kill on
hero
top.
names. Oh, actually, yeah, 3-3-3 already in trouble. One more hit, maybe from the Keeper of the Light. He actually jukes into the trees, pops a healing salve, and he's going to go back up to full, actually. A little bit of a missed opportunity for RisingStars here. A good start to pressure the Darkseer. It's an unusual choice to send the Darkseer up here if he's going to go Ion Shell first rather than just start off in the jungle. We'll see if they continue to pressure 3-3-3 out or if he can actually stay in. But in the mid, we talked about how OD almost guarantees you a 1v1 win, but so far this Ancient Apparition Chaos Knight combination is kind of oppressing air a little bit.
Yeah, and the really nice thing about the duo mid is as well, they'll take full advantage of all the rune control. Even AA can buy the bottle and he can just keep running around and spam the OD out. And we already see that they've got a ward up on the high ground, so they're always ready to reality rift him back. There's no chance of safety. It's not that necessary while it's still daytime, but it does maybe ensure a kill that they wouldn't get otherwise. And it's not a huge gold investment. The vision is expensive now,
right.
Both in terms of cost and in terms of you only got one pack of wards, you got to make those first 6 minutes really count.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing, of course, is that Chaos Knight actually, with any stacks of Astral Imprisonment right now, he doesn't have quite enough mana in his mana pool to actually do his full combo. So if OD does keep 2 things of Astral Imprisonment on Chaos Knight, you can only Chaos Bolt or Reality Rift. You actually won't be able to do both. So if Air is very, very careful and keeps these Astral Imprisonments up, I could see him being able to actually survive. Although here comes the rotation from CYS, even as they go on 3-3-3 in the top. There's the stun ticking down, but there's the Chaos Bolt on Air. It looks like Air may be the victim of First Blood, or will it be 3-3-3? He Astral imprisons himself while 3-3-3 is still taking damage from Xiao, 2G, and Super. Actually, it will be Air going down before the Darkseer. First Blood going to CCKD in the middle, using that rune for Shadow Demon, but even so, RisingStars returning the favor with a kill on the top lane.
Yeah, but the kill on mid is huge. Anything that you can do to slow down the OD. It's interesting that Darkseer decides to just TP straight back to the lane, so feels like he needs to pressure the Alchemist instead of just ducking into the jungle like we would often see some people do. You decide, okay, I've died once, it's not worth the risk of it happening again. I'll just go duck into the jungle. So I'm not 100% sure quite why this RisingStars tri-lane doesn't push that quickly, but I guess 3-3-3 is just trying to keep the supports here so that they don't rotate mid to try and deal with this duo lane. So that's probably the reasoning, but if he dies again, then I think you'd have to call it not worth it overall.
I think you make a good point. I think it's partially push. Like, you could add an acid spray on for the Alchemist and just illuminate and clear creep waves very quickly. You still wouldn't have great tower damage, but you would eventually just get the tower by sheer force of inertia. And the other thing is, yeah, the occupation of the supports. It seems like CCKD really want to win the mid lane if at all possible, to neuter that OD pick. And to do that, they need XDD. Oh, here comes another unstable concoction. They've still got this rank 2 Burrow Strike to follow this up with. That'll stun 3-3-3 for a little bit. Here comes the Illuminate. He's surging, but will the Illuminate still hit? Yes, and that'll be another kill for Super. So that's 2-0-0 on this Keeper of the Light and 2 deaths for Darkseer. And yeah, Basecamp, I think we'll probably see him exiled to the jungle sooner or later.
Yeah, it looks like this time around it is going to be the jungle trip for him. It's not even that bad if he's in the jungle. If he's getting fast levels, you get the fast mech. You can come out, you can throw an Ion Shell on the Chaos Knight, and if you weren't murdering the OD before, then an Ion Shelled Chaos Knight is probably even more guaranteed. So while he does head into the jungle, Super does immediately make his way across to mid, so things get a little bit more lively on this middle lane.
Oh, meanwhile,
we'll
on
see
the
what ends
bottom,
up shaking
Clockwork
out.
in a little bit of trouble. They did cut the trees, but that ends up letting him make a little bit of an escape here. So Clockwork, 1-2-3, or I think this is Mofi, but I can't be 100% sure. Heads back out, and he'll be safe. A nice little tunnel there. It's a little tunnel of love for him to get on out.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who exactly it was. Trying to load his Dota profile actually crashed my game, so yeah,
wow.
I'm not sure. I was like, oh, maybe it's an alt account. Maybe it has like 10 wins. So I wanted to check, and yeah, I couldn't actually load it. So Mystery Man 123 on the Clockwork.
Yep. Air, I mean, this is one of the least farmed ODs we've seen lately, and so this dual lane, although it's costing AA and CK a little bit of XP, has been successful, I mean, in some respect. OD only 6 for 1 on last hits, and typically we just see Outworld Devourer getting just a very, very early mechanism, and that's probably not going to happen here. We may actually see the backup plan of just move the OD towards Force Staff, and Keeper of the Light maybe pick up a mechanism instead, considering Super has managed to get 2 kills already. But could be trouble for Mothier 123 on the bottom here. There's the Dragon Knight ultimate. He does not have the mana for the Dragon Tail, but he does have the damage over time provided by the Corrosive Breath. Unfortunately, that's not fatal, so they will need to chase Clockwork enough to get the one more hit from the Shadow Demon. He actually uses Magic Stick, has just enough mana for Cogs, and Clockwork walks his way on out of here, but there's a big rotation coming from CCKD. 333 comes out of the jungle. Clockwork, meanwhile, suicides to jungle camps. Very, very good job of wasting the time of CCKD, preventing them from actually crediting a kill.
Yeah, so really nicely played by 123. I don't think anybody got even any of that experience. Maybe somebody managed to sneak in some assist gold or well, sneak into range for gold, but oh no, actually. Experience ranges. Never mind. Just yeah, I'm losing it. So let's just not chat about that. But anyway, so we didn't. Okay, let's talk about maybe. You know, we were talking. I talked about inevitability for CCKD in terms of the late game. But now that we've got the OD, how do you feel? If this goes 50 minutes, how do we shape up?
I think if it goes 50 minutes, you're going to run into the typical issue of a Chaos Knight in 50 minutes, which is if you didn't get a ton of kills, you have such difficulty flash farming that even though CK actually scales fine, in my opinion, especially after he gets something like Manta, you're just going to really struggle to actually reach there. And additionally, CCKD, their 2 main carries are both quite into light, especially Chaos Knights, so those OD ultimates are going to become a bigger and bigger factor as long as he waits out BKBs from CK and Dragon Knight. And BKB also received a bit of a nerf too, so the longer it goes, once those BKBs start to tick towards 4 minutes, I don't know, I feel like RStar is in pretty good shape. What about you?
I mean, I think I have to agree on the, on that situation, but at the same time, comparing OD's flash farm to CK's flash farm, the OD is already behind, and I'm just not quite sure how he catches up.
Sure.
In this situation, so we'll have to see how active RisingStars are going to be able to be, and I mean, they don't really have a good ganking support setup. They've got a Coddle, so it's a little bit more late game oriented. So we'll see. Maybe stalling out, they will be able to get that farm.
Here comes the hook shot. Mofi coming on in. Oh, he doesn't quite get Chaos Knight. The Cogs, this Burrow Strike actually misses as well. There's the Astral Imprisonment. Clockwork already on the ground. Chaos Knight now going to juke west now that the Cogs are gone. There is a sentry on the ground, but it's not really catching anybody out. 333, he's got an opportunity for another surge if they want to reinitiate, but Ancient Apparition, Red, he'll just have to head home because he's got no mana at all. What he does have, level 6 off of that fight. XDD just stealing a little bit of a regen rune here and coming on out. He does actually lose it immediately from the Chaos Knight meleeing, but it's good to just deny that from the CK. He is holding on to a bottle, and could have been worse for our stars, but definitely that hookshot initiation ends up really not doing much of anything.
Yeah, I mean the missed Burrow Strike was kind of the nail in the coffin, I think, for getting a gank off there at all. And it was the Ion Shell that I think canceled the regen rune on the SK there, but he stole it anyway. The one interesting thing, I guess, about the Astral Imprisonment is that when CK drops into 13 mana, as those stacks drop off, he does end up back at full, I guess. So it's not the worst thing in the world for him, and makes a trip back to base. Now he actually has full mana and can maybe look to go do something.
Stun on Clockwork. Here comes the Ice Blast, and that's what Ancient Apparition can do for you. You just die sometimes. He drops like an absolute rock with the use of the Cold Feet, the Ice Blast. Of course, Ice Blast, because of its greater point-blank radius now, you can pretty much just fire and forget it if you're at short range, and it will hit at least the person that you're aiming it at. So that's a tower as well for CCKD, and I gotta say, we said that if there was going to be any upset in this group, it could be this, and CCKD off to a pretty fine start. I don't think they're that ahead, if at all, but definitely doing well for themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, they've made a huge opportunity as well, because Air isn't really looking to come to fights and participate that much. Alchemist is still, in full farm mode right now. So it's up to the Sand King, it's up to the Keeper of Light, and it's up to the Clockwork to make too much happen. And I mean, Clockwork's not off to a great start either. Coddle and SK don't really gank that well, especially the Coddle. So right now, our stars is kind of just hunker down, defend the towers when you have to, and just try and avoid being picked off, because I don't feel like they can be on the front foot
I agree.
Against this Chaos Knight right now.
I think you're totally right, and it's basically just Alchemist mode now. Nice little Sandstorm from XDD there, once again, just making sure that the Reality Rift isn't going to cause problems for them. And one thing that they have gotten is an opportunity to develop air a little bit, as the pressure valve just released a tiny bit. Ancient Apparition moved to the bottom. Really, it's just Chaos Knight sometimes in here, and that frees up Outworld Devourer to really catch up back into this game. He was at 6 for 1, and now he's 30 for 18, so in a substantially better spot. And Xiao Tuji, I mean, as you mentioned, pure farm mode. He's got his, I think he has his Battle Fury, or it's at least being delivered to him by the courier right now. So that's a 10.5-minute Battle Fury, not too shabby by any means. And now you'll probably see Super and XDD helping Xiao Tuji to just clear this jungle very efficiently, stacking camps where they can. He's picked up that rank 1 of Acid Spray, and this Alchemist is gonna get quite big. And Dragon Knight, Chaos Knight, other than Dragon Knight Ancient stacking with Helm of the Dominator, which it doesn't look like Xiao LV is really concentrating on just yet, they're not going to outfarm this Alchemist.
Yeah, definitely not. So I really feel like what CCKD needs to do is, if you're going to wait to push, then maybe just wait around for the mech on Darkseer, but that needs to be it. You really need to start restricting the space that the Alchemist has. If you can take the tier 1 on mid and the tier 1 on top, then his jungle becomes a lot less safe. You know, restrict his resources, continue to play the starvation game, and from there you can keep him down, keep pressuring down towers, and win, because they're definitely ahead right now in terms of the sort of full-on 5-on-5 engagement. Alchemist just isn't really bringing that much to the table, nor is OD.
Yeah. Maybe it's a question of how aggressive CCKD want to be, because I agree, if they definitely take the front foot and try to take the fight to Rising Stars, I still feel like they have the advantage. I mean, Sand King now has Epicenter, so they can get caught a little bit flat-footed. They could just get wiped out, but more likely than not, as long as their positioning is careful, and maybe if they can catch Rising Stars out, I mean, just the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast is going to do a lot to take OD and Alchemist out of the fight quickly. The thing about this Battle Fury Alki is he doesn't have much in the way of anything other than just his slow cleave damage that clears out the jungle. And CCKD look to try to make something happen already. Here comes Black. He's going to try to catch out Xiao Tuji. Xiao Tuji to the high ground. XDD comes to reinforce and forced to peel off, so some nice reaction time there. Of course, Alchemist will stun himself, but other than that, they're probably fine. Air rotating in. He's going to Astral Imprisonment the Dragon Knight in the mid, but probably nothing else they can do to pursue this. But that was, as subtle as that was and as almost anticlimactic, that actually was a big win for Rising Stars, because they kept anything from Abigail's. Meanwhile, on the bottom, 3-3-3 caught out a little bit here. Here comes a full charge Illuminate right in the face of the Darkseer. He's down. That's already a kill. Sand King actually recalled into here, so they probably cost them a tower, but it's nice for Rising Stars just to get a kill on the board, even if they pay a tower for it.
Yeah, and continuing to slow down that mech is a really big deal, because, I mean, if CCKD have a mech and Rising Stars don't, then teamfights start to look even worse.
Oh, there's the Unstable Concoction. They want to mix it. Now, the CYS already on the ground. Xiao LV just with the Dragon Tail. Chaos Knight forced to disengage. In fact, this fight looks amazing for Rising Stars so far. Illuminate does miss. A little bit of battery still going on. There's the point-blank Ice Blast. Xiao LV stuck in the low ground. This Dragon Knight is going to have to try to head southeast, but he's taking a tremendous amount of damage. Chased out by pretty much all of our stars. They've got a Burrow Strike. Don't even need it. Actually using the Sanity's Eclipse to make sure they secure that kill, and a 2-for-1 trade. Rising Stars pulling it together in these larger engagements, as well as I think they probably get the deny. Here comes XDD, actually. He is going to get this deny. Gotta say, definitely a favorable trade for Rising Stars there, especially as the later game team.
Yeah, so getting the deny on the tower, always nice. Picked up a couple of nice kills. Some really nice cogs play from 1-2-3. Unfortunately, he does die again, so he's still having a pretty rough time. But Air has started to slowly work his way back. It looks like he's going to be still working. No, it won't be towards a mech, because the mech is actually being built by Super, so it looks like it is going to be that 4-staff, as you suggested.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and especially against Chaos Knight, where a little bit of repositioning can go a long way. If you just push yourself out of the maximum range of that Reality Rift, it just completely stuffs the ability. Yeah. Anybody who's ever played Chaos Knight knows how frustrating that can be when you rear up. Wow, what a nice hook shot there from 1-2-3. Chaos Knight going to use Phantasm just to sort of take off the battery assault, but it doesn't really matter. XDD is here, actually using the Epicenter. The last couple of clicks of that are going to hit Ancient Apparition, but he's now being chased by the rest of CCKD. Here comes Dragon Knight, here comes Shadow Demon, Ancient Apparition. Nice blinding light from Super. There goes the Ice Blast. XDD getting a little bit low. He's going to Burrow Strike to above the trees, but no way he survives. Cold Feet dumped in. in,
Radiant's
has his
bottom
Dragon
tower
Breath,
is
but
under attack.
still CCKD, I feel they're not getting the trades they would really want. First Dragon Knight for Clockwork, now Chaos Knight for
Radiant's
Sand
top
King,
tower
and
is under
all the
attack.
while, Xiaotuji builds and builds and builds. Now with tier 2 boots, 2,000 gold, and if they don't start making incursions into this jungle, this
Radiant's
Alchemist
top
is going to
tower
come
is
out of
under
it and be
attack.
terrifying.
Yeah, the clock is definitely ticking. They need to start
Radiant
to get the pressure back on. I mean, they established this reasonable lead early on, but RisingStars have really been turning it back around. Then again, I said it was up to the Coddle, the Sand King, and the Keeper of the Light to get things done. And you know, so far so good. They've picked up a couple of kills just between the three of them, and yeah, continue to make space for the two heroes on their team that do need it. So CCKD, I really want to see them. Well, is that mech finished? Yeah, the mech's finished. Let's try and see some action before, you know, this Alchemist gets too out of hand.
I definitely agree. The onus is now on CKD to really try and push out, make something happen, try to seize map control. One thing that I have seen from some of the lower profile teams and that I would like to see a little bit is a bit more warding. Again, CCKD basically have no wards on the map right now, and when your goal is to kill an Alchemist who can be at any point in the jungle at any given time, you probably at least want one ward in that general region so you can have an idea of where you actually go when you do inevitably gank that jungle. Here they're going to spot out air, there goes the disruption, Soulcatcher is up, there's the Ice Blast, but OD actually was in Astral Imprisonment. He will get cold-footed, but he is not Ice Blast. Oh, he is actually Ice Blasted still, but it won't be enough to kill him, actually. The Purge comes out, he has 2 stacks of Shadow Poison, there's another Cold Feet, he's getting pretty low, but CCKD may have overextended here. They do manage to pick off Sand King, so, no, not an overextension, but OD does escape, so XDD giving his life a little bit there, while Xiaotuji now farms an Ancient stack. He has Shadow Blade and 2.4k, so as much time as CCKD are delegating, they're not finding Xiaotuji, and so I feel that even these little trades that they're getting, they're setting them behind on the pace. They need to either pick up the pace or they need to find the right ganks.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing with Alchemist, I think, you know, not only is he probably going to be working towards an HP item next or something with a little bit of survivability, once he has level 16, he gets that much more difficult to bring down. And I mean, AA is going to have to get his ultimate on him every single time if they really want to have any chance of killing him off in these team fights. So that kind of makes things a little bit more difficult for AA. And yeah, I feel like if they use the Ice Blast in a strange way, I'm not sure if they necessarily have the manpower to kill off the Alchemist. And
yeah, it's going to be tough. The Air actually building a second Staff of Wizardry, so I hate to say it, Atos?
I mean, it's certainly not bad against kiting people around. I think the Force Staff would have been the right choice. You can Force Staff yourself away from the Cold Feet, prevent that from ever landing.
Maybe he will still make the Force, though. He could just make the Force and leave the second Staff of Wizardry for anything else later, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I like this Phase Boots on Sand King quite a bit, because he doesn't need the mana from Arcade Boots as much as he usually does, because there's a Keeper of the Light to just supply him with Chakra, so even though Sand King, a tremendously mana-inefficient hero, the Keeper of the Light can go a long way towards fixing that. And with this new Sandstorm, he can actually approach from a very long distance with Phase Boots and get a very long-distance Burrow Strike off that might take CCKD by surprise. And the other issue we're seeing now is this Chaos Knight lack of farm. I mean, 265 GPM after a pretty good early start. He made part of a Drums, now seems to sort of be heading towards BKB, and 2 BKBs, 2 sets of Drums. I'm not sure this takes Dragon Knight and Chaos Knight to the point that they can really dual Alchemist plus OD. Maybe I'm wrong, though.
I mean, he sort of stopped farming, and he also stopped ganking. He's got 1 kill and 1 assist. Yeah. I mean, CCK don't even have that many kills to their name. You know, we're heading towards 20 minutes in, and it's just not being all that kill heavy. But that's exactly the game plan that RisingStars are going for. And CCKD, we got ships in the night right now. We'll see who gets revealed first.
Oh, actually, yes, this is unquestionably going to be an engagement. Our stars are very deep. Xiaotuji, they're all around the tier 1 tower. Here comes CCKD. There's the disruption. Soulcatcher up on Clockwork. Nice Burrow Strike. Here comes the epicenter. Trouble for CCKD here, but also the Ice Blast going the other way. 4 seconds down on XDD. Unfortunately, it only keeps in place for the epicenter. Great walls on the ground. Sorry, I should say illusionary walls on the ground. Air already with a double kill. Trouble for Ancient Apparition now. The OD now gets another pickup. XDD, they're seeking to chase out the rest of CCKD. Xiao2G beating on 333 actually uses his newly bought BKB, and this is a disaster. Here's the stun on CYS. He might not escape from this either. In fact, he can't return a kill or anything. Unstable Concoction finished it off. I'm actually missing projectiles on my screen because of, I think, lag to the Perfect World server, unfortunately. But I mean, the tail of the tape is easy to see regardless of whether you can see projectiles there. RStars using superior teamfight coordination to seize a 5-for-0 fight.
Yeah, I mean, a fight that looked like it was going to go reasonably well for CCKD. They were coming in from 2 angles, you know, they had a little bit of a pincer going.
They do get XPD, nice little reality rift Chaos Bolt, but unfortunately Chaos Knight may pay for his insolence with his life here. There's the Astral Imprisonment. Actually, there's the 4-step from Air. He's going to push himself forward. They're going to beat down on Red extremely quickly, and Black falls not long after. 2 coming into fight 5, not usually going to work out in your favor.
Yeah, I really don't know about that TP from CK. Yes, you get the kill, but you are twice as valuable as the Sand King ever is. I mean, RisingStars, Sand King for 2 kills, they'll make that trade any day of the week. So, yeah, I'm not so sure about that one from CCKD. And RisingStars, just straight into the Roshan pit.
That is quick Air now really in the prime of his life, level 13 Outworld Devourer, second highest level on the map. Xiao2G, of course, insanely high level, building towards what I guess most likely an Assault Cuirass, although Mjolnir is a distant possibility, but my guess it'll probably be the Cuirass. And Air now holding Aegis, Force Staff, and Rod of Atos, which he did build after all. I like it, honestly. It's tanky because it's got that 325 health, and the slow is no joke, especially if you have good vision. There's a hook shot. 333 gets caught out in the trees here. Nice vacuum, but not quite enough. Illusionary wall goes down. Xiao2G, however, is BKB'd. Actually, a little bit of miscoordination. The Chaos Knight is still up. Cold Feet comes out onto Air. He immediately takes off the Cold Feet with a nice Force Staff. Chaos Knight isn't a defensive disruption. He is still alive for now. Xiao2G letting loose another stun. That'll pick him off. Tier 1 tower as well. And now Xiao LV is in a lot of trouble. XDD Burrow striking his way on out. Hasn't needed to use Epicenter just yet. The Astral Imprisonment once again actually slows down their healing progress. Another nice vacuum from 333, but it's not going to do anything. Sanity's Eclipse over the top, and RisingStars once again wiping out CCKD, forcing the Great Wall Broadband Company official team to actually call GG at 22 minutes. So a good start, but in the end you kind of learn which team has the experience, which team is great.
Yeah, I mean they played the lanes quite well. I mean, obviously a couple of deaths on Darkseer wasn't ideal, but you know, they executed well on mid. They killed Air off a couple of times. But then as soon as it came to the mid-game, you know, portion where they needed to start getting the movement going and get the tower pushes going, they just really felt stopped at every turn by RisingStars. And that's 100% a product of experience. That's 100% a product of, you know, staying together as a team and knowing one another's playstyles and having that coordination. So yeah, RisingStars in the end do sort of come out on top.
We see that a lot from, I feel, these games between promising and up-and-comer teams and the great teams, is that you sort of see a lot of the time a team that's an up-and-comers can upset the team early, like they'll get a kill lead or they'll get a little bit of a farm advantage early, but they just maybe will have trouble solving like the one great strategic thing they needed. So here's CCKD, they did well in the lane, but they never ganked Alchemist. They didn't even make a strong attempt at it, and so at the end, Xiao2G ends up with 800 GPM, and you're like, oh, it was a stomp, when in reality it wasn't. CCKD hit some of their benchmarks, but as the underdog, it's hard to just dominate.
Yeah, and I mean, being a good Dota player doesn't make you a good team player, I think is maybe the...
Sure.
Yeah. The core of it. And just having experience as a team, you know, when you've played a lot of games, you've seen this situation before, or maybe something similar. You have a feeling of the right direction to move. And, you know, just scrims aren't even the same necessarily as tournament games. So more practice is all really that you need. And yeah, I think decision making and things like that from CCKD were lacking a little bit here and there.
Alrighty, so that'll be game 1, folks. RisingStars going to a 1-0 lead against CCKD here in this best of 3 at the ECL Group C group stage. And games have been coming right on each other's tail, so we will probably hop into another one in just a couple minutes. You're watching Beyond the Summit 2 coverage of this tournament. Base Camp Vickermond, we'll be right back in just a second.